And we've had this with people from our Ministry of Health as well. It turns out that the last thing that they think about is heart disease. So I don't know, every country is different and every country has its own mortality, but heart disease is the leading cause of death in men and in women throughout the world. And approximately 31% of all mortality is cardiac. Now, it used to be that cardiovascular disease was a Western disease. It was a disease of the developed world. But the biggest increases in cardiovascular disease in the last 10 to 10 years have been in the less developed world, in the developing world. And I think we're all beginning to suffer from the changes in diet and the increase in sedentary lifestyle. And it may very well be that populations who do not have a history of obesity, for example, where food was not readily available, when they hit high calorie, low nutrition density food, the likelihood of developing diabetes and the likelihood of developing complications from the metabolic syndrome are actually much higher than in people from other regions of the world. So this is really perhaps this is the leading cause of death in women throughout the world, and unfortunately, it's the least. We're not thinking about it, and we're not working on it, and that's really why, once again, I'm so excited to have people from all over the world so that we can work together on preventing the leading cause of death in women. Next slide. So when I started out as a cardiologist and I wanted to figure out how I was going to prevent heart disease in women, I started out with what I was taught. I was taught that if I was going to prevent heart disease, what I need to do is find the people with diabetes, find the people with hypertension, find the people with high cholesterol, treat them, and then we're going to be fine. And it took a while. We have Professor Lotan.
I don't want to stop you from the plaque rupture because, by the time I'm here, the plaque will rupture. So it's my pleasure to say welcome and hello. Just finished a catheterization in a lady. We have a lot of ladies with a kidney transplant that needs to have a replacement of a valve. And because of her age, and because of her kidney transplant, and because she's getting anti-suppression treatment to prevent the kidney will be rejected, we think that we'll do what's called the TAVR, which is the replacement of the valve without surgery. And maybe Donna will talk a little bit about it. Professor Dannenberg will talk a little bit about it. So it's a prelude to understand that really today we're living in a different era where a lot of what Donna is talking is slowly fading, which means the plaque rupture and the coronary disease, and we are starting an era where people live longer and better, and by living longer we definitely have some problem with valves, so it's the era or not only of coronary disease, but rather what we call structural heart disease, that we really try to talk about structural heart disease. Now a little bit about women and heart disease, and this is something which I owe, and I don't know whether Donna talked to you a little bit about the importance of heart disease in women, because unfortunately, if you look at the history, and those who wrote the textbook, it was mentioned that heart disease is disease of men. So within all the risk factors, it was age, sex, now we don't say sex, gender, main gender, cholesterol, hypertension, diabetes. And I always tell the story, which is for me a very sad story, and for you to understand the importance of heart disease in females, that about 15 years ago, I was called by the Ministry of Health to stand in a committee that looked into the death of a young lady. And the story was that a lady in her 30s several months after delivering of a baby. Came to a doctor and she said, I have very severe chest pain. She was a heavy smoker and she was sweating, and the doctor told her, well, you know, it's probably some chest pain. If you were being a male, I would send you to the emergency room because I would be afraid that it's a heart attack. But since you're a female, you can go home and maybe I'll give you some medication for pain. So she went home. And anyway, he gave her a letter that if the pain is worse, she should go to the emergency room. So in the afternoon, the pain got worse. She went to the emergency room. She was checked by a women doctor. And she told her, well, you know, you probably have some muscle pain. She was pressing on the chest, and you know, after delivery. And she gave her injection of some painkillers, and the pain got a little bit better. And she sent her home. In the evening, she had very severe pain. So her husband called an ambulance. An ambulance, a specialized ambulance with a paramedic and a doctor, because he said severe pain. So they came and they read the letter from the emergency room and they said, well, you know, it's what they call musculoskeletal pain, some pain from the muscles. And they said, well, you know, we see that the shot that you got in the emergency room helped, so we'll give you another shot. So they gave her another shot. And about 12 o'clock, the baby was crying, and the husband kind of woke up, and he sees that his wife is cold next to him. And of course, when they do the autopsy, she had a blockage of one of the arteries. And this lady saw 3 doctors in the same day. So I felt very bad about it, especially when the female doctor told me that she was a student here in Hadassah, and we as teachers were telling the same, that, you know, gender, male gender is the risk factor, means that females do not have heart disease. They have a heart, but no disease. So that was actually the initiation for us to understand that something is wrong in the education. And we started here at Hadassah, and then with the support of a grant that we got from the United States, we built the entire Lina and Pauling Heart Center specialized in women disease. And I'm sure Donna will give you all the rest, both about heart disease in women, as well as the issue of entire looking of health in women, because as you know, the Me Too, which happens these days, is not only that, it's also some neglect in the treatment of women. If you look at a lot of drugs that we are giving, 90% of the population or more of the people that were checked in those studies were male. So we didn't even check the effect of a lot of drugs in female, and everything in a way, one way or another, was neglected in women, and we are trying through this center to change a little bit, both at the hospital, and Donna, with all the people in her center, are doing a wonderful work, also in the community, where we believe part of the treatment is education, and education is not in the hospital, it's reaching out to the community. So with that note, I'm happy that you are here. Thank you for coming to Israel. Thank you for coming to Hadassah. Thank you for joining us this important day. I'm sure that you learn a lot from Donna because she's really special. And I hope that you will enjoy the rest of your trip in Israel. Thank you very much.